When Lockup visited Kentucky State Penitentiary, we met Fleece Johnson, a longtime inmate who practices a very different kind of homosexuality.
But we have sexual desires, right? So you got a bunch of men locked up in one place. All of them get hard. All of them's horny. All of them got sexual desires. So what are they going to do? You won't let them have a woman. They going to have each of somebody's going to have to give us some booty. And it's just that simple.
The most memorable story that Fleece told us was about the place and importance that booty has in a maximum security penitentiary. And he went on about it and on about it.
In his prison, booty. Booty was more important than food. Booty. A man's butt. It was more important. I'm sorry. It was more booty, having some booty was more important than drinking water. I like booty.
Johnson went on to tell our crew how he used to satisfy his sexual desires, especially during the 1970s and 80s, when he was most active and prison security was more lax.
When I see one, and he looks good to me, when I go see him, I say, you come here. I say, I'm telling you what, I like you, and I want you. And we can do it the easy way or the hard way. So the choice is yours, right? And it was always yes.
Johnson also had a warning for the new generation of inmates. They might be asking for trouble from old-timers.
You know, they got this thing where they sag their pants past their butt. It's a style. They call it some sort of gangster style. You know, it's sexy to us, right? And see, but they weren't prepared for this, right? So you sag your pants in her, man, somebody be up in your butt, you know. And it just said so.
Johnson even let the lockup crew know that when he was in his prime, they wouldn't be safe from his advances either.
If y'all had been in her back then in them days, and as much as I like booty, I probably felt one of y'all butts as y'all was walking past me and dared you to say something. I'm not no shame in my game. This is nothing that I'm ashamed to admit. I am what I am. I'm a warrior too, you know, so let that be known. I'm a warrior.
Hey y'all, I am back with another sponsor video. This one is about Fleece Johnson, Booty Warrior. So before I get into his chart, let me read a little bit about Fleece Johnson. Fleece Booty Warrior Johnson speaks out about boondocks 1 year after being released from prison. Fleece Johnson, infamously known as the Booty Warrior, due to reportedly raping and sexually assaulting over 157 people while in prison, was released last year and is now speaking about his 44 years behind bars. Originally sentenced to 10 years for armed robbery on July 26, 1979 at Kentucky State Penitentiary, Johnson would later be sentenced to an additional 18 years in 1987 on charges of wanton endangerment and first-degree assault. Wanton endangerment is defined under Kentucky law as engaging in conduct that creates a substantial danger of serious physical injury or death to another person. In October 1990, he was charged with assault on a corrections officer 4 times, which added an additional 20 years to his sentence. From 1981 to 2013, he was up for parole 13 times after serving a minimum of 20 to 50% of his sentence. However, they were denied due to his sexual crimes on inmates and officers while incarcerated. Fleece Johnson went viral as the Booty Warrior after his interview for MSNBC's Lock Up Raw, The Convict Code, a show intended for kids to make positive choices and avoid incarceration. In this prison, booty was more important than food, Johnson said on the MSNBC show. Booty, a man's booty. It was more important than, I'm serious, booty. Having some booty was more important than drinking water. Man, when I see one and he looks good to me, when I go see him, I say, hey, you, come here. I say, I'm going to tell you what, I like you and I want you. We could do this the easy way or the hard way. So the choice is yours. And it was always a yes. After 4 decades in prison at the age of 57, Johnson was granted parole on June 28, 2015, after receiving a low-risk assessment rating. Reportedly, he was officially released in June 2016, but he was arrested a few days later for armed robbery and sent back to prison. Now in 2023, 1 year after his release, Hustler Spirit published an interview with Johnson about his time in prison. During the interview, Johnson shared his thoughts on his Boondocks episode portrayal. The episode is called A Date with the Booty Warrior. The episode follows the character Tom, who recently conquered his prison rape phobia and decides to volunteer a field trip to a maximum security prison as part of a Scared Stiff program. But when a riot breaks out, Tom is forced to face his fears with the Booty Warrior directly. When Johnson was asked if he ever saw the episode, he said, I watched little of it, but it aggravated me because that's not my character, portraying me as somebody I'm not. He continued, I don't have to run up on no motherfucker asking for no booty. It's a known fact where I was locked up, I got pussy while I was locked up. He put me in a negative light to try to generate a negative light. But what he did is it hurt me. Johnson described during the interview that when he found out about the Boondocks episode, he was up for parole, and that when he got released in 2015, Jobs would fire him due to the episode, hence why he was later sent back for armed robbery. You put me to the test. I'll go out there and get my money any way I can. I was trying to demonstrate when I got out of prison that it had turned over a new lead. I was done with all that crime shit. But I can go back into it if I had to. I have a wife now. I told her about it before we got married. Johnson ultimately claims that he had only exaggerated his claims of taking booty to help scare the kids from making bad choices. I had no idea that when I did the MSNBC documentary that I would ever get out of prison and that all these other sites would come aboard and put it in a negative light, like I'm some kind of predator. Well, you were. I fucked some ass in there, I'm not going to lie, but I didn't take it. Now, he basically said if you weren't going to give it to him, like you can either give it to him the easy way or the hard way. So what is that? That's a threat. But anyway, let's get into this. So Fleece Johnson, Booty Warrior. This video has been sponsored by Joshua. Thank you, Joshua, for sponsoring this video. Joshua wants to know, what gave Fleece the unrelentless willpower to fight back no matter if it was a guard or an inmate? What made his immune system so strong? He said he only got sick a couple of times in his life. He drank other people's piss and ate spit, been in freezing cell, naked on months, but not sick. What makes him obsessed with the booty? He said he doesn't have stretch on him. I took a look at his skin. He doesn't have a stretch on him. Do you mean like a stitch? I'm not sure what you mean by stretch. How was he able to go to war almost every day but come out with no lasting war wounds or gotten killed? Well, as he said, and now as his chart shows, he basically exaggerates. So you can't believe too much of what he says. How was he able to get out of prison after all his prison crimes? All right. So before I get into Fleece Johnson's chart, I just want to talk about some of the traits of dark-sided Aries, which Fleece Johnson definitely is. So dark-sided Aries is prone to fighting, can be conflict-oriented. Violence is a major theme. And this is where the term the warrior is coming in, because Aries is a warrior and he's a booty warrior. So dark-sided Aries can operate with a selfish me-first mentality, can be egotistical, domineering, destructive, reckless, dangerous. Mean, rude, uncouth, not giving a fuck. Beast-like, savage, unrefined, impulsive. Having a single point of focus where nothing else matters, having tunnel vision. All right, his numerology. So he was born on the 27th, that breaks down to 9. And that 27, when it comes to men, can result in being hard on the outside, but soft as marshmallow on the inside, which Fleece Johnson basically was. Also, this could be a man who likes to cross dress. Now, I read in one section that he did experiment with wearing women's clothes, but I don't know if that's true. Violence, firearms. He was convicted of armed robbery on more than one occasion. Conflicts. Prison, which is represented by the 7, becomes his semi-permanent home. Home is represented by that too. Life path number is 8. 8 can produce heavy karma. It can produce a life of solitude, or where there's long periods of solitude, and he was in solitary confinement at one point. Also, doing time, where time is a major factor. Reputation, so him getting a reputation as a booty warrior. Punishment, opportunistic. Father, he said in an interview that he had issues with his father prior to getting locked up as a teen. And teeth, he no longer has his teeth. Now, he said that his teeth were taken out by, I guess, the prison system because he was biting fellow inmates when in fights and stuff. I don't know how much that is true either. So here's his chart. Unfortunately, I don't have his birth time. He has Sun in Aries, Mercury in Aries, conjoined to that Taurus South Node, Moon in Gemini, Uranus in Leo, Pluto in Virgo. This grand trine involving Pluto and Virgo is the main reason why he had a strong immune system. Very resilient, you can say. Grand trines, they provide protection from a number of things. But I am seeing, because he has one particular aspect, I'm seeing where he was probably exaggerating about that too, because I'm seeing signs of where he did contract some illnesses. So he has Jupiter at the 29th degree of Libra, North Node in Scorpio, conjoined to Neptune in Scorpio, Saturn in Sagittarius, and he has his stellium in Aquarius, including Mars, Venus, and Chiron. Sun in Aries trine Uranus in Leo, being one of the first men to be honest about prison sex, being openly gay, ease in attracting gay men, becoming famous, or you could say infamous, for being raw and uncut, because that Aries can make one raw and uncut, becoming a meme, especially thanks to the Boondocks. Sun in Aries, sextile Mars in Aquarius, attracting fans and followers for being the booty warrior. He's getting a lot of support, or I'll say a lot of attention on YouTube with these interviews. And a lot of men in particular are like cheering him on, or saying that, you know, he's doing a good thing by trying to act as a deterrent. Like his stories are acting as a deterrent for youth that might think about breaking the law and all that. But I'm not cutting this man no slack. I'm sorry. I feel that he's despicable. Being openly gay, unapologetic about it. Forming groups and affiliations while he's locked down. Being a bully works out well for him. So that Aquarius stellium, especially with Mars in Aquarius, can cause him to be a bully. So that's exactly what he was. He basically said, you going to give it to me the easy way, or you going to have it the hard way. So here's that caricature of Fleece Johnson that was featured on the Boondocks. And Fleece Johnson was basically offended by the Boondocks episode, and he was saying it painted him in a negative light. But I'm like, you did this to yourself. You are a negative character. You're a dark-sided Aries. Don't be surprised. And this is just showing that Sun trine Uranus, also the Sun sextile Mars, where again, he's developed like a little cult following. This one woman right here, it dressed up like him for Halloween, which I think is absurd, but you know. Sun in Aries quincunx Neptune and North Node in Scorpio. Being turned out by a man. Represents the awkward shower scenes with the man when he was young. So he basically said that when he was a young guy in prison, before he started to have gay sex, this man would be in the shower and he would always be looking at him. And one day he approached him and was like, "Can you tie my hair behind my back?" And Fleece Johnson was like, "Oh, he know what this is leading to." And he decided to defend himself. But again, you can't really believe too much of what Fleece Johnson says a lot of times, aside from the sex stories. Not being able to act out his sexual urges with women caused him to pursue booty sex with men, making a compromise. That's what that quincunx can require, making an adjustment in terms of his need to get his sexual urges fulfilled. Bargaining for booty sex with inmates, such as offering protection, or where he's saying, "I'm not going to whoop your ass if you give me some ass," can represent his manipulation/threats when it came to turning men out. Attempts to clear his name regarding rape. So Fleece Johnson is basically trying to claim that he wasn't raping any men and that they gave up the ass willingly and all that. And I'm so glad you sponsored this video, Joshua, because they are going to demonetize this immediately. So yeah, YouTube always be either limiting my monetization or demonetizing me outright because of the content of a lot of my videos. So I really appreciate these sponsored videos. So attempts to clear his name regarding rape. But I do see that as a form of sexual assault because he's coercing these men to have sex with him. He's threatening them. Plagued by sex demons, demonic oppression, will embellish, lie, steal, scheme, and cheat in order to get his way, or to come out looking like the man on top even. So I believe a lot of the fights that he claimed he was in are lies. So to answer your question, Joshua, like how was he able to go through all those fights without getting scars and wounds and all that stuff? I believe a lot of it is lies. A lot of it is figments of his own imagination. He said, "My parents made me a monster." Sun semi-square Venus and Chiron in Aquarius represents the times when he dressed in women's clothing, but masculinity was still prominent. That's if that statement is true. But I did see a picture online. It did look like it was him dressed up like a woman, but I don't know if that's true. Doesn't want to admit that he is gay, so it comes out through him zeroing in and punking others. He can tell who's different or wounded. Being with a woman is not enough for him. His sense of entitlement towards what others have makes him less of a man. Forming gay relationships, but where he has to be the dominant one. So again, this quote right here. "Hey, you, come here." I say, "I'm going to tell you what. I like you and I want you. We could do this the easy way or the hard way. So the choice is yours." And it was always a yes. So he wants to be in relationships, but they're unusual relationships with Venus conjunct Chiron, and where he always has to be the dominating partner with that sun in Aries. He can't be in normal relationships, but it makes sense. He was locked up ever since he was a teen.
I did it. The documentary, I went on and did a documentary. I had no idea when I did this documentary that I would ever get out of prison, that all these other sites was going to come aboard and take what I did and put it in a negative light, trying to make me look like I was just a predator. And like I said, yeah, I like ass. And to me, ass is ass. It don't make no difference to me where it comes from. You get 30 years in prison, you don't care about where your booty come from. You tired of jacking off, you tired of looking at smoke magazines. You ready to fuck something. And I was ready.
What about, did you ever watch your character on Boondocks?
I very seldom watched that. I watched a little of it, but it aggravated me because it's not my character. It's portraying me as somebody I'm not, right? I don't have to run up on no motherfucker asking for no booty It's a known fact. While I was locked up, I got pussy while I was locked up. Yeah. That'll be another story I'll tell you about. But right now, back to this. No.
You never seen it? You never watched the episode?
I was that fucker that put that shit out.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot his name. But I can't stand him right to this day, right? And he took me and put me in a negative light to try to generate a lot of money and talk. But what he did is it hurted me. Because I go up for parole, I cuss him out. Because I didn't think I was going to ever get out, so I told him to suck my dick. Fuck you, fuck Frankfurt, fuck all you motherfuckers. Kicked the chair over, walked out of the parole room. And they told me that same day, you got parole.
The same day you kicked over the table?
Yeah, I cussed them out. They said I had parole. Because they had something set up for me out here. They done took my documentary and done edited it and done put it in a negative light, right? So they want me to feel this when I get out. I done caused them so much trouble in prison. So they want to show me that they're going to give it back to me when they put me on the streets, right? So every time I get a job, this shit will come up. The booty man.
Moon and Gemini opposition Saturn and Sagittarius can be prone to exaggerate. Represents the appeals, court documents, statements. Also, he was wearing a t-shirt on one of the interviews where it says it's documented. So this is his way of saying that, yep, you know, everything that I'm saying is the truth because it's documented. But a lot of his prison stories aren't documented. Yeah, his rap sheet is documented. But can we believe all the stories he's telling about his time in prison? I don't think so. Moon and Gemini trine Jupiter and Libra. The Boondocks episode. Participating in the MSNBC special can represent a halfway house that he was in when he got out. One of the times he got out, gaining knowledge of laws, legal system, can flirt with his feminine side, such as being a cross-dresser. Moon and Gemini trine Venus and Chiron and Aquarius, participating in the MSNBC special again. And this is to serve a cause with Aquarius ruling cause, attracting a following as a result of telling his story, having an open-minded and flexible wife who allows him to have gay affairs. He basically did mention that his wife knows what's up. So he's become like a serious meme. But that's what happens when you live your life in a crazy fashion like that. So Mercury and Aries opposition Jupiter in Libra, being caught up in the legal system, facing a judge, facing a lot of judgment, the no holds barred, raw and uncut interviews with Libra ruling interviews, telling tall tales, spinning yarns, always trying to see how he can get over on others, will prey upon the kindness and generosity of others. They need to stop with this picture in the back. Whoever did this, I did not put this picture back here, but yeah, they need to stop.
In the crack of my butt. You know, because when they fold punch you always naked. It was flies, man. It was about 500 flies buzzing in the crack of my ass, almost like I had a vibrator in my ass, right? And every time I try to move, they go deeper, right? So I said, and I felt, I can't describe how I felt, but it felt like it killed something in me. You know, that was the most shameful thing that ever happened to me in my whole life, right? So I said, I'm going to take it. I'm going to get every one of them for this, right? So when they let me down for 6 hours, so when they let me up and then took me back upstairs, I told everybody what happened. I said, look, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're sick. If you got a shit, send it to me. I got something for the ass, right? So I had a 3-gallon bucket. People was passing it down. And prison is nasty. They was passing the duty down in cups. And I poured in, who got some more? And then I took 3 cans of Magic Shave. That stuff make your hair come out. And I took broken glass, right? Made it real broken and sprinkled it, and I stirred it, and I made it real thick. So when you try to rub it off, you be smearing it in yourself. The glass gonna cut into you. And the Magic Shave gonna take your hair out. Since y'all want to call yourself shaming me, y'all gonna put me down and let flies eat out my ass? No, I got something for y'all suckers, right?
So Fleece has a fixed grand cross, and this opposition between Mars and Aquarius and Uranus and Leo is part of that grand cross. Both Mars and Uranus are at the 7th degree. That 7th degree represents prison, theft, isolation, but also victimization. You can put lies in there too. Being on the hunt for men who display gay tendencies, that's a big part of this opposition. Getting sexually aroused by seeing naked men. Having a me against them approach, basically not being a true friend to anyone. Basically, anyone can get it. Alienation. So I'm thinking he was probably alienating his boyfriends, probably wouldn't allow them to have friends so that he could have total power over them. So again, these are images from various videos on YouTube. People are going ham on this dude. But like I said, it seems like a lot of dudes are cutting him a lot of slack, which I find to be interesting. There's a number of prison dudes that have, or you could say ex-cons, that have posted videos on YouTube. There's this one guy in particular, I think his name is Banky or Banksy, and he's basically championing, he's basically cheerleading, I'll say, Fleece Johnson, rooting for him, saying he's doing a good thing by giving these interviews. And he was basically saying, he's like defending some of his rationale and stuff. And I'm just like, wow, maybe because it makes some of these guys feel more comfortable about their own sexuality. Here's another image. So more about this Grand Cross. So Fleece's Mars and Aquarius is squaring his Taurus South Node and Neptune and Scorpio North Node. This is the armed robbery charge, or you could say charges. Being entitled to what other people have causes him to threaten them with violence. Challenges with resisting the temptation to engage in booty sex after being locked down before having his first sexual experience. So the fact that his need for sex was denied because he was locked up so early, and having that Neptune could join to the Scorpio North Node, that produced like this sex addiction. Because, when you've been deprived of something and then you get it all of a sudden, then there's a chance you could become obsessed with it, go wild with it, go too far with it. And I always say you could take that North Node too far. And he definitely took this North Node in Scorpio way too far, especially with it being conjoined to Neptune. That's the epitome of prison sex, but it can also manifest as a sex addiction. A long-term predicament, in his case, prison, because the fixed Grand Cross can produce very long-term predicaments that last for many years. And he was locked down for what, like 40 years, 44 years? A long-term predicament, prison in his case, that causes him to get his sexual urges fulfilled by any means necessary, essentially becoming the booty warrior. But this is also about him getting money through any means necessary as well, which is why he would resort to robbing people. It can also, this Grand Cross also points to the challenges with his ability to earn money because of his record, because he blames the Boondocks episode. But I'm like, please, all somebody has to do is pull your criminal file and your prison record to have cause to pause in terms of hiring you. And he's probably lying on the job application and all that. So yeah, this fixed Grand Cross makes it hard for him to make money. It made it hard for him to get sex. And then when he does get sex, he gets trapped in this cage of sex addiction. See what I mean? People are clowning this dude. Cheeks ain't safe. But honestly, this is not a laughing matter because men that get violated in prison, a lot of times it's people make light of it. People make jokes about it, like don't drop the soap and Big Bubba and all that. But honestly, that shit's not cool and it's not right. It's not right to victimize anybody. But yeah, it's like Fleece Johnson has been able to still come out somewhat on top for some of these men that are watching these interviews. I don't get it. And I wouldn't be surprised if he sexually assaulted someone outside of prison. He could be doing it now. Yeah, people like that, especially with these hardcore aspects he has, a lot of times they don't change. So Uranus and Leo is square in the Taurus South Node and Neptune in the North Node in Scorpio. So this is representing him being a disruptive force in his life and the lives of others. Will use and betray his so-called friends. Again, like there's no loyalty with this guy. Discarding some of his boyfriends and creating problems in the process. Like some new dude comes on the scene, comes on the cell block, and he basically discards the other dude in favor for the new dude. So, and Aries does like new things. Aries likes fresh meat. So this Grand Cross is also representing him saying booty was more important than food. What I find interesting is it seemed like he was trying to project this statement onto the whole prison system. But this is more so about how he was feeling inside, what he was going through with that insatiable hunger for sex, booty sex in particular. So for him, booty was more important than food, not for a lot of other inmates. Being in a cutthroat setting where loyalty is lacking can represent the story of the flies and bucket of shit with the magic shave and glass. I believe I included a clip of this story, which I believe is mostly lies.
With 12 years, and
were you afraid?
Hell yeah. What you mean? Well, man, my arms was that skinny, man. I ain't have no muscles, no nothing. I just had a lot of hair and stuff, and there was a guy in there, big nigga in a big afro. Back then, they was running afros, and every nigga was built. But every time I take a shower, he comes in there. See, they showers were like two showers, one on this end, one on this end.
So you're a 16-year-old kid in prison with grown, big afro.
Freaky grown men. Let's keep it straight. Some freak niggas, right? Freak niggas. Niggas ain't had none in no telling how long. They want it fresh. They want it young, right? And I'm in the shower. I picked up on it, and he was over rubbing his soap bottle over his chest, just staring at me like that. So I'm like, what's wrong with this nigga, right? So I'm looking this way. So every time I turn around, this nigga was looking at me like this. And I see all them muscles and shit, right? Then I look, I said, oh, is this nigga hard? You know, his shit is out, right? So I came out of the shower, man, and I went and told some of my friends and shit. They said, oh, that's Big Reggie, man, big. I think I don't care who it is. That nigga like his shit was hard, bro. He's staring at me. Oh, nigga, every time, man. And then one day, I was getting out of the shower. When he came in, I got out and said, nigga, get us start this shit, right?
So he never said nothing, he just...
Nah, he'll make grunt noise, make me look over, a nigga say, I look over, he be rubbing his chest, staring at me and shit, right? So I get out of the shower, seriously. I get out of the shower, and like I said, I was skinny. I was skinny as fuck then, a little skinny arm, fat little ass on it, you know. So this nigga get out, and he walked past me, and I'm thinking, he bumped into me. And I felt his little shit hit me on the side of the hip. He said, oh, excuse me. So, man, that nigga shit, his dick, it touched me. I said, man, I gotta do something here. He said, you need anything from the store? Now, you don't even know me like that, bro. They asked me if I need something out of a store. Now, I know where your man's at now, right? You ain't even thought, do I need something out of a store, my nigga? And so I said, all right. So back then in LaGrange, they used to have out of commissary tang jars, right? Made out of glass. Everything now is plastic now, because inmates is using stuff.
Glass as a weapon and stuff like that.
Yeah, I sure used it at one, because I went over and I broke it. My hands are shaking. I said, man, I don't even know if I can go through with this or not, right? I broke the glass. So I walked back in there. I said, if he touched me, let him touch me. Just don't walk in there and hit nobody, right? So he was doing his hair, slut that big afro, and he was blowing it out. He said, hey, I ain't say nothing. He said, you. I said, with me? I had the glass up on a towel, right?
Yeah.
I said, what you want? He said, can you, he said, when I do my hair like that, can you put a rubber band on there? I said, no. Man, I ain't put, I'm your right. He said, what you mean? I said, no, man, I'm not putting shit on there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He said, grab my hands and did like, he said, they smooth.
This is in the shower?
No, this is in the shower room. He got still in the shower. He got out of the shower. See, when you come out of the shower, they got a little platform right here where you can put your stuff up on, and they got mirrors.
Yeah.
You look in the mirror and comb your hair out and all this stuff.
I got you. It's kind of like a locker room.
Man, I stabbed shit out of that nigga. I cut him with that thing and ran.
And then even this, Fleece Johnson ate a man's ear and lips. There's been a lot of sensationalism. Oh, God, you can see he hasn't aged well at all, but that's karma all day. He's a life path number 8. But there's a lot of sensationalism surrounding this man's story. So I saw this video the other day, and that's that guy I was talking about. He's an ex-con, and he's been like rooting for Fleece, and he's been on his knees sucking Fleece off, talking about, yeah, Fleece, the man, he funny and stuff, and all this stuff. He crazy, he wild. And I'm just like, wow. But maybe, again, he's supporting Fleece because Fleece is making him feel more comfortable about what he was doing when he was locked down. So Fleece basically said he would get into fights, and he started to bite his opponents, and that's why they took out all his teeth. I don't think that's true. And he doesn't have anything in his chart that's really pointing to, like, you know, punishment where his teeth were being taken out. But then again, he could be a Capricorn rising, and, you know, that ascendant could be afflicted. So who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if he's a Capricorn rising because he lost all his teeth. Fleece Johnson responds. Here it is. So even Comedy Hype featured him. So he has a grand trine in his chart, and this grand trine, Joshua, was a big reason why he was able to continue to soldier on despite getting into fights. He was able to, like, make it through in prison, and where he was able to maintain his health, where he wasn't getting sick too much. I believe he probably wasn't getting very sick, but I do believe he did contract some STDs, and I'm going to show you the aspect that could point to that in a minute. So this grand trine, consisting of Saturn trine Pluto, Mercury and South Node trine Pluto, Mercury trine Saturn, helped him to create a decent life where he was in prison due to his ability to have men under his command. Having men who would do his chores with Pluto and Virgo, Virgo rules chores, and other duties for him with Pluto and Virgo, becoming an overnight sensation, being paroled, the ability to spend a lot of time alone without tripping. Speaking the raw truth about his preferences results in becoming immortalized. Maybe he'll write a book at some point. That's what he should have did, but, you know, he's probably lacking in terms of skills, writing skills, but he could have somebody write it for him and make money that way. So booty is more important than water. That's how he looked at booty. But again, it seemed like he was trying to make it seem like that's how a lot of prisoners was thinking. Jupiter and North Node sextile Pluto could represent some group sex sessions he orchestrated, represents his relationship with the prison guard. Having free reign to be as nasty as he wants to be, could have been doing favors for a guard, can represent Fleece being appointed a public defender, being released on account of good behavior, or I forget what they said. It was something dealing with, they said he was a low risk assessment rating. So that's dealing with these sextiles right here. So that's your answer, Joshua. Successfully completing conditional release programs, satisfying conditions of parole officer, perhaps. More than likely, yes, because he hasn't been locked up again. But you never know. He might be headed back. He might, succumb to the temptation of that Grand Cross. And also those quincunx aspects involving his sun, Neptune, and North Node in Scorpio.
After 18 months of being in her naked, they ain't give me shit. I slept down there with the rats and the motherfucking lizards and all that bullshit. They bring this motherfucker in, the one I threw the bleach on. Fucked me up one day. It was lunch. They had brown beans and they had a hamburger. No cheese. This hamburger with brown beans in a paper cup. They said, somebody's here to see you. I done forgot all about this motherfucker. I'm thinking, shit, I'll never see him again. This is 18 months later. That guard turned the corner. With his face all fucked up and all this shit, and he had my food tray in his hand. They wanted him to get back at me. So he handed me my food tray, and it was a big old pile of spit in the motherfucking beans, brown beans. I mean, it was so much spit, like 100 motherfuckers spit in it. And a little paper cup, it was golden, just the darkest piss. You can smell the shit. Soon they gave me the tray, I smelled the piss, right? Pneumonia smell like raw. And he handed me my tray. So it went through my mind right then and there. Oh, this motherfucker's trying to come back. And if I show fear right here, they gonna do this shit every day. They gonna put me in torment every day. So I grabbed the tray. I didn't use a motherfucking spoon, a plastic spoon or nothing. With my bare hands, I grabbed that big old powder bean, threw it in my mouth, all of it. With the spit in it? With the spit in it, ate it. Drunk the goddamn cup of piss and said, thank you, can I get some more? It was good.
So let's get into his asteroids. Fleece has Sun conjunct chaos. When I saw that, I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. So being a creator of chaos, living a chaotic life. Moon conjunct Juno. This made me think that this is representing some of his pen pals, writing to women, women writing to him due to the Gemini influence, having a relationship with a cellmate. Venus and Chiron conjoined to Nike. Makes me wonder if he may have taken someone's Nikes due to that sense of entitlement that he has. If he wanted something you had, he was taking it. Could have been your shoes, could have been your booty. Venus and Chiron contra parallel Hera. I wouldn't trust him around any kids, any teens, none of that. Being vindictive. The story of being in solitary and the flies. Venus and Chiron contra parallel Juno. Probably still has gay encounters despite being married. He basically said his wife knows about his past, and that's very Juno and Gemini. All of them hard. All of them be horny. Somebody gonna have to give up some booty. Also, Saturn parallel Atlantis. Atlantis can deal with where you feel a sense of impending doom. So this is representing his sense of impending doom regarding the police, but also prison guards, always looking over his shoulder. Started with his father. He did mention he had serious issues with his father. Feeling that he is being punished by God, perhaps. Saturn contra parallel Cupido. Attempting to wield total control over a lover. Saturn conjunct Pandora, being turned all the way out, which unleashed the wild stallion, which that Saturn and Sagittarius, that's that wild stallion. So once that while stallion was released, it couldn't be tamed. It couldn't be restrained. Saturn parallel Pholus. Pholus represents infections, bacterial infections, viral infections. So this could represent a host of STDs, bloodborne infections. I wouldn't be surprised if he's HIV positive, and he looks sick as hell. And I wouldn't be surprised if he had hepatitis either. South Node conjoined to Hygeia. This is another aspect that makes me think that he got some health problems. This could be a condition of the mouth, maybe from drinking piss, like he said he was doing. Throat, esophagus, thyroid, issues with hygiene. Of course, if he's taking booty all the time, I'm sure they don't have time to flush it out and wash up and all that. South Node parallel Hera, being vindictive. This is the type of dude that will put things in your food, jealous, keeping score, being very exacting. So when it came to like commissary and you owe me this amount of cartons of cigarettes and all that, he was very exacting with it, I'm sure, with this parallel aspect. North Node and Neptune conjunct Cletia. Cletia is about rumors being spread. It's about, somebody spilling the tea. Word gets out in prison about his sexual encounters and him being a sexual predator. Moon conjunct Polaris. Polaris is a fixed star that can manifest as sickness, trouble, loss, affliction, and spiritual powers. Moon conjunct Betelgeuse. Betelgeuse can produce fame, which he has attained, but it's also associated with calamities, danger, and violence. So it says fame, especially military success. We know he wasn't in the military, but he does refer to himself as a warrior. Sun parallel Alrisha. Alrisha is a star that can manifest as a unifying influence within groups. And he's doing this outside of prison by having a bunch of people either rally behind him or just listen to his interviews. But also, I'm sure he basically got a group of men together to do his bidding when he was in prison. Venus conjunct Nashira. This is a star that manifests as writing. So again, he might write a book about his prison stories. It deals with the government, religion, the ability to overcome evil, which I doubt he will. Jupiter parallel Sinistra. Sinistra can result in being immoral, mean, and slovenly, depraved, lustful, wanton, infamous, scandalous, addicted to sorcery and poisoning. This basically describes him to a T. Maybe not so much the sorcery and poison. No, I think he was probably putting some stuff in people's food. So this basically describes him to a T. Saturn conjunct Alculeus. This affects the eyesight, and he could have blindness in one or both eyes. I wouldn't be surprised if he does have problems with his vision, the way those eyes are all watery and stuff. This can produce a morbid outlook on life, which he definitely had. I mean, it's hard not to have a morbid outlook on life when you're locked down for so long. Having a sharp mind, religious extremism. He might even punk some of the Muslims up in prison with this. Poison of a sting. Uranus conjoined to Persepi, reclusive, blindness, murder, tragedy, fires, homosexuality, violent death. He might die a violent death. Uranus conjunct Acellus Borealis, patience, beneficence, and courage. Well, we know he's not beneficent. Heroic and defiant leader. I wouldn't call him a hero, but some people act like he is, like that one dude, that YouTube content creator. Defiant leader. I would say that part is true. Uranus conjunct Acellus Australis, blindness, eye trouble. So the eye trouble and blindness is showing up again. He probably gonna develop glaucoma or something like that. Shipwreck, that don't apply to him. Mass murder. He was a soul murderer, murdering souls, not really murdering in the flesh. Horrors. He definitely was bringing horrors. Self-willed, uncooperative. Pluto conjunct to Jot posterior. Force, energy, power, protection, cultural development. And the cultural development, I believe, does apply because Fleece Johnson is part of a subculture that is basically prison life. Pluto conjunct Regulus. Regulus is a fixed star that pertains to ambition, alertness, and you got to be very alert when you're in prison. Great power, status, leadership, sudden downfall, accidents, and violence. North Node conjunct Princeps, ability to conduct research, studious, keen, profound mind, business, government, law, science, arts. But the main thing is the lies that come with this fixed star. So again, you can't believe everything that Fleece Johnson says. South Node conjunct Sheraton, violence, defeat, accidents, injury, danger, honors. South Node parallel Raz al-Hag, trouble with women, which we know he had, perverted taste, which we definitely know he had, drugs, poisoning, hallucination, medicines, infections, mystical healing. All right, so that concludes my video reading on Fleece Johnson. Thank you, Joshua, again for sponsoring this video. And please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if you would like a reading, you could go to my website. The link is in the description section. Stay tuned for more videos. Peace.